Good morning, good morning. Today is all about change for Transformation Tuesday. And our podcast today is going to reflect. You can't change what's going on around you until you start to change or start changing what's going on within you. Let's think about that for a moment as we reflect on something we'd like to change. As you look at yourself, how many things do you think that you would like to change? Is there anything that there is always something that we can change. How about it? Let's think about this for a minute as we can name all the changes that have happened in our lifetime. But did you know change affects you and I? Sometimes not directly, but indirectly we are affected by changes. So let's think about change for a minute within us. If change is affecting us, okay, and let's be honest, if change is affecting us, around us, how much good can we do, or how much change has affected us? You know, changing something starts with yourself. Sometimes we want to see a change, but if something is going around inside of you and it's affecting your inner person, it also affects your outer person. Good morning, Trish. Good morning.
Good morning.
And so we're going to talk about changing what's going on inside of you. And we're going to start with presently. How you've been feeling and you looking at yourself. Because everyone is affected by change, good or challenging. So let's look at ourselves for a moment. And I want you to silently reflect on the change that you want to see within yourself. Now, I know a lot of you will say, well, there's nothing that I want to change. But if I gave you 5 minutes and asked you that question, what changes would you like to see within yourself? You'd come up with one thing. I want you, as you listen to our podcast, wherever you're listening to it at, whether you're here live today, whether you're streaming it, I want you to stop and think a moment. No, don't skip it when you see it. Let it talk to you. You can't change what's going on around you until you start changing what is going on within you. And why are we talking about this? Because in order to be that change, it starts with you. You've got people who will support everything around them. And I'm not saying if that is a good or bad thing. Might be a good thing for you. But have you ever stopped to think about if you change something within yourself? Like I have changed in the way that I'm going to address things. How so? I've learned that I don't have to be angry. I can say what I want to say, and I can feel and name a feeling without getting angry. You see, because anger affected me. Either it was me being angered toward myself, or my being angry at someone as a response to what they've said or done. I have learned to change that within myself. Why? Because it rightly affects me. And when I think about the changes that I need to make in response to other people, I want to transform and become a person that I can receive it in a well response. See, whatever's happening around you, you you will be affected. But what do you choose? I choose to change. Now, looking at yourself, you might say, well, I need to get out of a situation. And we're not talking about for those of you who are in school, because many of you are back to school or going to work. We're talking about what's happening with you. So what is happening with you? Today's topic for Transformation Tuesday is what is going on? And that's our song, by the way. What's Going On by Marvin Gaye. So what is? As you look at yourself, what changes would you like to see more of? See, I have freed myself from possibility of becoming so angry that it makes me sick. See, I felt the need to change that within myself, because who's it going to benefit? Me. And for all the people that know you, they will begin to notice the change in you. How many of you understand that? When someone notices your change for the better, oh, they say, she doesn't get angry. Oh, they say, watch this. Watch how they'll respond. And sometimes they will even label you when they see a change. Now it's up to you to find out, do you want to be a good change or a unhealthy change? We'll call it that. Even if you start to tell a person, and we've all done it, how many of you have done this? You notice something and you say, you really need to change that. How many of you have done that?
I have.
Yeah, and how did that work out for you?
Sometimes they get upset at me
Uh-huh. Yeah,
when I say that.
yeah, their response. And what do they say? What did they say when you say, "Hey, you need to change that"? What did they say?
Sometimes they say, I didn't ask for your opinion.
Have an attitude. Yeah, yeah. Won't talk to you. You see, the problem in doing that is they're not going to change unless they want to. And let's personalize it for all of you who are listening, knowing that you need to change something. You aren't going to change until you absolutely want to. We have done Vibe Talk Facing the Lion podcast, and I am studying now to be a counselor. And every day, what I want you guys to do, if you want to be that change, is look for me. Every day is going to be a 1 hour session, or I shouldn't say every day, but 4 hours a week. I want you to start to look for me. Our Facebook page, Trish, do you have that up for them?
Yes, I do.
You're going to look for me on our Facebook page. But in order for you, good morning, Larry. How are you? And we're talking about being the change that you want to be. Where are you listening in from, Larry? And welcome to our program, Vibe Talk Facing the Lion podcast. If you're here and you're truly interested, good morning, good morning. Let us know where you're listening in from. And thank you for joining our show. Good morning to everyone. If you're here for the first time or have not found our YouTube page, please click on top left and subscribe to our page. I'm going to give you some really important information to help you to want to do something about what is going on with you. We need to figure it out only if you want to. So I'm going to be on 4 times. In order for you to know that I'm live, I want you to follow our Facebook page, and it costs you absolutely nothing to do this. And we're going to have an open conversation. You can call into our lines. It's there, 661-503-8993. And I want you to be able to tell me what you are going through. What concerns you? You, not anyone else. Because it's fine that you call and talk about other people's lives, but until they want to change, they're not going to. And I want you to tell me if your changes are going to transfer into something that is a better you. We've got work to do. Trish and I have talked about this, and I put it into fruition about giving you all the time to be able to call into the show. You have that freedom. We all have cell phones. You can call in right into the podcast. It has a clickable number on Facebook. We'll give you another number. Good morning. Where are you all listening in from? Please and thank you. We're talking about changing something within you. So what has been going on within you? As you look at yourself, changing something within yourself. Remember that I said, anytime you want to talk, just look for Vibe Talk Facing the Lion podcast. You can call into our number 661-503-8993. And since we're all on cell phones, you can basically call anywhere. If you're overseas, you can even call our Facebook and social media pages. But you have to want to. So we're going to be doing that. And we're going to invite anyone who wants to. How's that? I am a professional life coach, and I am in no way a doctor. I am in the throes of being a counselor, and I'm enjoying it very much so. I really am. This is a calling for me. And by helping each other, I'm helping myself. Thank you all for that message. So changes within yourself. We know that when we come here, okay, the change means that you are doing something different than what you are accustomed to doing. You need to modify it. You know, a lot of us have personality traits, and a lot of times because of our inherited personality traits that we've developed or inherited, that's why I should say inherited. We say, well, that's just the way I am. Are you satisfied with that? Vibe Talk Facing the Lion podcast gives you something to think about. Are you satisfied with that's just the way that I am? You know, there have been older people who have made great changes. People have, at a very late stage in life, went to school, studied the Bible, they've learned other things. Are you not inspired by the changes that they've taken? Graduation time, I always like to hear the many older ones that there was no shame in their game. They went to school. Many of you might think, well, that's crazy. They've lived their whole life, but it's not crazy. You know why? Because they make a difference. When we hear stories of people in their elderly age graduating, does that not move us? Does that not inspire something about us to make a difference, to make a change? What are you willing to change within yourself? Have you thought of something yet? Yes, I've asked that question. Making a change within yourself. You know, we've been doing Transformation Tuesday. And it's all about change. In fact, you can go and look at our streaming podcast and see we have many discussions. And that's what we're doing, having discussions. We have helped so many people. How do I know that? Because they've contacted me and said, hey, I've listened to your podcast. I think what you're doing is great. So Trisha and I are inspired by the things that you all write. So what do you want to change? And if you say, oh, I want to change something to improve it, that's okay too. So I ask you today, what is it that you like to change? People say they need to change their behavior. And in the world where I come from, the education world, we say as educators to our students, you need to change your behavior. Changing something in your life. What is going on inside of you? I'd like to start with something that I hear a lot of people say, and I'm going to generalize it because this may be you. How many of you have an issue with forgiving yourselves? Anybody?
I do.
Okay. And where is that stemming from, Trish? If I can ask, you can say pass or play. Where does that stem from? You know,
I'm
oh,
going.
go ahead.
I was gonna say I'm going to pass this time.
I knew of someone who could not forgive themselves. Couldn't forgive themselves because something tragic happened as they used their life in a way that did not benefit them. So they began to understand it. Couldn't forgive themselves. Even if you didn't know better, there is a saying that I love. Good morning and welcome to the program, Vibe Talk Facing the Lion. We're asking the question about changing something that is going on within yourself. Where are you listening in from, please, and thank you. Where are you listening in from? On the left-hand side, if you'd like to, up top, that is our YouTube channel. In case you can't find us again, click that and you'll be right at our page if you'd like. So, changing something in your life, because there's a lot of people who can't change forgiving themselves, or so it seems. You want it to become where you are able to forgive yourself. How, how do we go about that? If you've lived your whole life blaming yourself and you can't forgive yourself, even if something was an accident or a mistake, you know, we do make mistakes. How many of you have ever made a mistake?
I have.
Yeah, we've all made mistakes. How many of you have made mistakes that you wish you could get a do-over and make it right? As you,
I have.
yeah. So here's what happens when we want to change something. We're going to talk about this. You can change something by reflecting. Just one moment. Just one moment. I am live. Just one moment. I'm back. Sorry for the loss. We're getting into changing something about our lives. What can you do to change? Because everybody wants to see a change. There's a beautiful quote that I love to see. In order to see the change, you need to become the change. How many of you have heard that? Anybody?
I have.
Okay. So if you want, you might want to jot some things down or not. Reflecting and understanding. Where do you want to start from? In the beginning of this podcast, I talked about seeing my change and what I had to do. I think the biggest part of me was having anger, understanding where that anger was coming from, how it affects me. I'm proud of myself because I can tell you that I'm angry, but I don't have to show you that I'm angry. Does everyone get that? So reflecting on where my anger was coming from and thinking about how I'm allowing other people to affect me. No, we're not robots. We're not AI people. We are human with the most powerful thing that we could ever have, and that is the tool of our brain and our heart. We talk about that a lot here. You have those two things, those two tools to reflect and understand. Where does it start from? Because sometimes we say we need to make a change, and I say, what change do you need to make, and where do you think it starts from? You have no clue. So give it some thought. And then here's the next thing. Looking at your values in life, everybody values something different, you know. People give you a gift, and you might treasure that gift. And somebody might have an heirloom that they've inherited down the family, and they value those. We are talking about your core values, your inner value, thinking about what is your value. Everybody has them. How do you rate? And even in asking you this, if you don't know what your values are, how can you change? How can you change the direction of your life in which you are going or not going? Goals. Goal setting. I know that everyone doesn't sit down and write their goals out, but I'm going to ask you the question, what is going on? What's going on with your goals? Everyone that listens to this podcast on Tuesday Transformation, what's going on in you should have at least one goal. And if you don't have one, I want you to think about what goal you would set for yourself. What do you expect from yourself? Expectation. Meeting yourself face to face with something that you have committed to. In other words, you're going to get up every morning and you're going to commit to something to make your changes better. And just in case you're wondering, I've done this. Doesn't make perfect. No one's perfect. tell you what, it improves your purpose in life. So you want to make a change. Start with yourself. We need lion-like courage to commit to making those changes. You know, a person says, hey, I want to stop drinking. Hey, I want to stop smoking. Do you think they just do it just like that? No. They commit to the change. They start goal setting. They cut back. And they make a practice of doing this every day until they have reached their goal. So what did they do? Took action. They didn't just sit back and say, well, I want to change and do nothing about it. They took action. They had a movement, a cause, a purpose. We will need support to be able to make changes. And if you're here today, you have one form of support, but I want you to start building a support network. And that is why we're offering it 4 times a week. But it's going to be up to you to receive the help. Even if you want to get something off your chest, we are not doctors. I am a professional life coach, and I'm here for you. Remember we talked about how we check on everybody. Is there someone right now that you can check on? Who could you check on right now? Anybody?
I could check on my brother right now.
Okay. Can you think of any more people? And I want all of you guys to assess this within yourself.
I can check on my best friend.
Okay. How about checking on yourself to keep checking if you are progressing? Checking on yourself. Wow, that's a thought, isn't it? And you say, wow, well, checking on myself, hadn't thought of that. That's why you're here, because we're learning. I want you to be able to change something this week. Whether it is changing how you get up in the morning or how you go to bed, it'll be totally up to you. Everything is possible. You see, life and everything that we go through has seasons. Literally, our life is like what we see when it comes to the weather. There's winter, spring, summer, fall. So through all those seasons of life, you see changes, right? It lets you know what time of season it is. But yourself, you go through many seasons of change in your life. Let's see how it works. You ready to go down the path with me? How many of you have lost someone that you love dearly in death or divorce? Yeah. You see how that affected you? See, you never stop losing them, or you never stop wanting their presence. And sometimes those wounds take a long time to heal. They may never heal. But here's what you learn to do. You learn to adjust to the new change, the unexpected change. And so you therefore have a change in your season. Many of you have made decisions on starting families. There's a whole other change because now you've got another person. And then there are those seasons of time where you as parents are now empty nesters. The first time that I became an empty nester, I thought I would die because it was my firstborn son. But if you ask me today, wow, I've come through that season. It can be very traumatic, your change, unexpected. When I had made a choice to retire from early childhood education and teaching children in the education system, that was a big change for me. In fact, I just told someone, you have to look at it as you're given an assignment, and when that assignment is up, sure, you're going to miss it because it was a season of helping people, but you go through your life and you get older and those kids grow up and your life changes direction. Expect that. But what direction do you want to move in to? Because now you think about it, you can either retire. Doesn't mean that you got to stay in bed. Your life can still move and adjust. You can find new excitement in life, life-changing things, but it does affect you. Think about your changes. Where would you like to see yourself? Where do you see yourself? You know, a whole year is coming to an end shortly. What changes have you made? When we think about our changes, we think about our priorities. What do you want to do with your life? You say, where do I go from here? Stop devaluing yourself on something when a change happens. Remember that thing that I said about forgiveness? We don't forgive ourselves. Allow yourself to not be blamed for what you have been blaming yourself for, if that be the case. And I picked that one because in training, I know that so many people have not forgiven themselves, even if it was a mistake. Release yourself from that and allow yourself to forgive yourself. That, ladies and gentlemen, is a big change. I'd like to include a little story, and it's about someone who had a friend, a good friend, and the friend called off her wedding, and they went through an emotional breakup. From there, she started to question choices about her career. Where is she going with it? Where is it going to take her? Now she's going through what is a spiritual and healing journey so that she can take care of her mental health and well-being. Think about it. She called off her wedding. She began to question her career choices. Did you hear the important thing that she did? How many of you heard it? Can you tell me what she did that was important for her? She took a step. Mental health. How many of you heard that? She took care of her mental health and well-being. Trish, were you going to say something?
Yes, I was gonna say I did.
Yeah. Yeah. She, in those times, thought, should I just start my life? Maybe I should move or travel. What do I want to do? What do I want for myself? How many of you have been there where you just didn't quite know and you're making decisions and you're rethinking? That's okay. Because we ask you to carry your pencils in life. Because on your pencils are erasers. And what are erasers used for? To correct the mistakes. You get a choice. Here's a quote. Take your time. Life is a marathon, not a sprint. In the race in which it is better to get to the finish line last. So slow down. Be present in the moment. Here's the part I love. Eat more ice cream, but really enjoy it. So in your life, you're not alone. And it's okay. I want you to write the words, okay. It's okay if you don't have the roadmap to your journey. You will go through it, you will face it, and you will learn life. You will learn it through experience. Why is that important? Because through your life's journey, you're going to be faced with all kinds of decisions, just like this woman. She wasn't a bad person because she called off her wedding. She needed to find herself. All of us are on a journey to find the best version of ourselves. And that's why change, ladies and gentlemen, is so important. Change is so important. It's so very important. We want you to be able to evaluate what is going on with yourself. Because you have all the answers. And I want you to realize your brain and your heart knows. I'm going to repeat that again. Come a little closer. Your brain and your heart knows. And that's why when you face the mirror and you look at yourself, you begin to think deeply. How many times during the day do you reflect? Reflecting on what changes you need to make. When you want to change something, you must move into action. Here's a beautiful thing that I hope you think about. Changes are noisy. How many of you believe that? They're noisy. How so? Because your brain tells you that you need to change. And then your heart says, yes, I know, but I like where I am. It's comfortable. It's like a big comfy couch with big pillows on it. This is comforting to me, your heart says, but I like it here. This is my spot. But then your brain says, but I can't stay here. You see how the noise goes on in your brain? Changes are big. Remember when we talked about loss of a loved one? And that came to my mind because everyone can identify with that. Everyone that I've ever met has lost someone that they've loved. And you hurt for weeks, and it's like someone just cut out a big part of your life, and your heart aches. It will forever ache, but one day you will notice that because the person is not there, your brain learns to leave a special place for that person in your heart. Changes can be frightening. How many of you have ever been afraid of change? I have.
I have.
Yeah. And what about that, Trish? Pass or play?
I'm going to play. I'm thinking about when me and my family moved from our old house to an apartment. The change was very different, and it was scary because the environment wasn't so safe. So it was very challenging in that change. But we learned to adapt by just staying in our own lane, not getting into trouble. So that's how we worked. That's how I processed that change.
Yeah. So you had to accept that change because you were going to move no matter what, right? And then
Yeah,
when
I couldn't really.
you,
Yeah, I couldn't really say no. I don't want to go there.
yeah, yeah, yeah. How about change being overwhelming? You're just so overwhelmed because of a change. Sometimes when you have gotten out of relationships, you may feel more overwhelmed than you did in the relationship because now you've got to fill a void because that go-to has always been there for you to go through. And that can be overwhelming when you've made the choice to not have that particular relationship anymore. Quite overwhelming.
I can relate to that.
And how so? Thank you so much, Trish.
I remember when I got out of the specific relationship that I'm talking about, it was overwhelming because I I didn't follow the same routine. Wake up, tell that person good morning, talk to them on the phone all day, spend time with them all day, and that routine it became normal for me. But there are certain things that I know that shouldn't have been going on in the relationship, so I had to step back from it. It was scary because now, okay, the good parts of the relationship, they seem to like be tempting to go back and say, I know I need to change that, but at the same time, there's a good thing going on here. But me stepping back, it became overwhelming because what am I going to do? I thought of how am I going to move on from this? But I did. I did.
Yeah, yeah. And you had to do something, right? You move from the what's going on until I know what's going on and I'm going to do something. That's called movement. Some people change their lives completely. What would you like to change? Remember, I asked that first. be happier, have more love, more free time, greater freedom. Remember how I told you the freedom felt that my reaction to people moved from anger to just listening or saying something that I want to say, and I can still be angry, but I don't have to show them I'm angry. All right? Greater peace in your life. Your mindset, your brain. You know that thing. The most powerful thing, your mind and your heart, can do wonders for life changing. We're going to be right back with Trisha's Treasures. Don't go anywhere. Facing my eyes, facing my eyes. Cause we're called on facing the lion podcast. Go set your favorite stream platforms. Feel free to be interactive and tell us your stories. Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Music, YouTube, and it's so much more. We're also on Facebook and Instagram. Go give it a shot. We're back. And just so that you know, Trisha's responsible for our music, our inside music, and the outros. Thank you, Trish. Now back to Trish with Trisha's Treasures.
I recall having a backpack when I was in first grade. It was my first backpack. And because I loved this backpack so much, when the strap would pop off, I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't say, Dad, I need a new backpack. When it would have little tears in it, I wouldn't say, Dad, I need a new backpack. Because I love the backpack so much. And it was my first backpack, so I was like, I don't want to change this because, first of all, pink, it was my first favorite color, and it had Snow White, Belle, and the Little Mermaid on it, and I loved that backpack so much. But it was past due on it needing to be changed. I needed a new backpack, but I was so stubborn until one day in second grade, I was walking to my bus, and all of a sudden, the books fell from the bottom of my backpack. And I was like, oh no, this can't be happening to me. And I carried the books all the way home. The strap popped. That book bag was falling apart. And I went there, and my dad was like, you need a new backpack. You can't use this one because your mom already sewed it like 1,000 times, and your backpack, it keeps falling apart. You need a new one. And that's how change is. You love something so much, like a relationship. You love that person so much, or a habit that you have. It seems so normal to you and so natural, but it's making you fall apart. It's more destructive than constructive. And sometimes it's hard to let go of that thing. It's hard to let go of that backpack, that load that you have. That's something that is normal to you and it needs to be changed. And a problem that I always have is I always wait until it's too late to change something before I change it. And I say that's a problem for me because it creates issues and problems and circumstances that didn't necessarily have to happen unless if I would have just changed my aspect of things, my point of view of things, or changed the route I was going in certain situations. So, if you have that backpack, the strap is falling off and there's a hole at the bottom of it, it's time for a change. And it's up to you whether you want to change it or wait until it's too late.
Thank you. In order to get more of Trisha's Treasures, which is affiliated with Vibe Talk Facing the Lion podcast, you can hashtag Trisha's Treasure and go to our YouTube page and find out more about Trisha's Treasures. So, in a wrap, you can be the change that you'd like to see. And I challenge you to know what is going on within yourself in order to find the connection to your wanted and even needed changes. You just have to be willing. Thank you for joining us here at Vibe Talk Facing the Lion podcast for another Transformation Tuesday. And before we go, we'd like to ask the question, what did you learn and discover about yourself during today's podcast on change? Trish?
I learned that change is very, very important, and change starts from getting to the root of the problem and reflecting, and that's where change starts from. And the change has to be in me in order to come out of me. And my experience here today, it was a triggering experience. I got very emotional over here. I cried some tears, but it's okay because that's also a part of change, the healing part.
And it is okay. It's okay. I learned that I could be the pencil to my own life. You can't erase the past, but you can start over with your future. You can pick up, not where you left off, but pick up your life in that you are going in a direction, a connected direction, because you now understand that change was good for me. And those are the changes we're talking about. What is good for you? What is in your best interest? No one can tell you that better than you can tell yourself. And here's how you know. Everything we talked about today, you will begin to feel your life shift in a good direction if you take it seriously. Or you could be a standstill. But I'm going to be the pencil of my life in that I can enter my life and the mistakes that I've made, I can say, I made that mistake, but I'm going to work on doing better next time to see a better version of myself. That's what I meant about the pencil with the eraser on it. When you make a mistake, let it be okay, because if you don't make mistakes, how do you learn? We learn from experience. May your change be as discoverable as my change. And all the changes that many of you have done and are still doing, it's okay to give yourself permission to change. I felt great about this podcast. Thank you all for joining. We'll see you next time, and don't forget to look for us live on our Facebook page, Vibe-Talk. You'll see the lion, and we hope that so many people will come on live with us, call into our live show, our live session, and you'll see it. Thank you for joining us wherever you are, and I challenge you to find out what's going on within you. Because I don't want you just to make a resolution. I want you to think about. I was really by the moves and then I got the vibe with it. I really took my time with it. I really loved the ride with it. Really got the vibe with it. I took my time with it. I really loved the ride with it. You really see I'm better you. When you get the vibe with it, yeah. When you get the vibe with it, yeah.